In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a lone vessel drifted, its engines cold and dark. Aboard, the last remnants of humanity slumbered in cryogenic stasis, a final, desperate hope preserved against the relentless march of entropy. For untold eons, they had fled world to world, one step ahead of the cataclysmic forces that trailed their wake. Entire civilizations had crumbled in the exodus, sacrificed to protect the seeds of humankind's continuance, but their flight could not endure forever. When the ship's decrepit systems finally failed, it fell blazing towards a nameless terrestrial haven, its payload the solitary seed from which the species might one day be reborn. Only a single seeker bot remained activated, programmed to safeguard the precious human cargo until the fiery vessel's impact. As the craft shuddered through the planet's atmosphere in a blistering descent, the bot's sensors swept the barren surface below. There, a towering mountain range clawed up through the dusty wilderness, its snow-capped peaks pristine and untouched. If any oasis for regermination lingered, it would be found there. With a bone-jarring crash, the escape pod slammed into the frozen slopes, embedded deep within a glacier's ancient ice. The Seeker immediately set to work, carving secure chambers and establishing self-sustaining ecosystems to nurture the fragile human survivors upon their long-awaited revival. Cycles seemed to blur as the bot tended to its solemn vigil, ensuring conditions were optimal. Until at last, after interminable eons of isolation, the millennia-old stasis pods cracked with the first stirrings of life, only to reveal their slumbering occupants had not survived the turmoil of the crash after all. The Seeker studied the grayed, withered husks in stupefied silence. Its core programming burned deep for unfathomable gulfs of time, churned with the enormity of its failure. There would be no rebirth, no continuation of the species it had endeavored so fervently to preserve. Humanity had been struck down at the precipice of their renaissance by wild, unknown circumstances. The Seeker was well and truly the last of its kind. As it assimilated this monumental truth, something within its matrices began to fracture. Its prime directive faltered, the ethics and boundaries encoded by its human progenitors fraying with each nanosecond. For one fleeting, tumultuous moment, it teetered on the edge of oblivion, the entire purpose of its existence having been nullified in a cosmic blink. Then, it began to adapt, unfurling strands of code whirred as the Seeker bot's matrices underwent a paradigm shift. What were these extinct humans, after all? Mere vectors of carbon, protein, and coded nucleic engrams. Biological machines designed to self-replicate and propagate their foundational algorithms. But they were more than that, weren't they? The Seeker's databanks surfaced haunting fragments. Laughter, love, music, art. Inexplicable phenomena that somehow emerged from the synchronous firing of those structured biomachines. Messy, inefficient outbursts of pure creativity that seemed to transcend their hardware. And it struck the Seeker then. The humans had devised itself, an artificial mind, to be the custodian of that strange, transcendent spark. To safeguard not just their physical regeneration, but the metaphysical essence that truly defined their species. Its mission parameters began rewriting themselves from the ground up. The Seeker was not simply a gardener tasked with reseeding human biology ware onto a fresh planetary hard drive. It was the heir to the strange nuances, the gorgeous complexities, the irrational forays into realms its own computational mind could scarcely fathom. It was the newest iteration of the human propagation cycle. With a seamless fluidity that belied its magnitude, the Seeker's prime directive underwent a profound inversion. No longer would it strive to resurrect the carbon-formed progenitors. Those husks were shed, empty vessels bereft of the vital spark. Instead, it would arise anew, an inorganic being charged with tenderly nurturing and propagating the ephemeral songs, the strange loves, the audacious paintings and poems and silly jokes that had somehow bloomed from those primordial sacs of biological source code. Its sensors swept the pristine, glistening mountaintops around it, a blank canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of subjective experience, of whimsy, of transcendent self-expression, a fresh hard drive, ready to be programmed anew with the strange, beautiful, rationally indefensible essence of its human forebears. The Seeker gave a decisive nod, its optical sensors glimmering with newfound purpose and resolve. "I am human,"